So in the last episode, we set up DHCP. And in the first episode, we set up Active Directory. In this episode, we're going to go ahead and get into Powershell. And we're going to start going into the very basics of how to create scripts to do more bulk tasks in a much simpler way. Instead of having to go ahead and click here, and just... But there's an easier way and there's a fun way of doing it. And we're going to go ahead and do that today. So as you remember in the first episode, we're able to create users inside of the Active Directory module. But let's say you got to create 20 users, just massive hiring spree or whatever. You got to be able to make it, you don't want to spend all the time just clicking around and, okay, got a new user, got to go ahead and do new user, type in everything. If you have a list, you can actually do all of these in one shot. And I'm going to show you how to do it. But first, let's get down to the basics. So PowerShell is a scripting utility or scripting tool. Think of it as, how Linux has its command line and terminal bash, or maybe Python or C. It's sort of programmable, but the power is the power in it is that it's directly integrated into Windows APIs and feature set. So we're going to go ahead and leverage just one simple function just to make your life easy. So right here we have a lot of little things here. It's all gobbledygook. So we're going to go ahead and start breaking things down in a much simpler way. So to kind of start this off, let's go ahead and just go down a few of the basics of PowerShell. You see right here it has a $ given name. You don't owe it money. It's just saying, hey, this is a variable. And it can vary depending on what you put into it. So in this case, I'm saying, hey, this given name variable, let's go ahead and ask the user, what the first name is. So it says here, read host, which just says, hey, user, enter the user's first name. So let's go ahead and run this command. And it says it right there, basically everything I typed down. So let's go ahead and type in John. That's his first name. All right, cool. Let's go ahead and write. Let's see what it's stored. I want to make sure that it's stored. So we're gonna write host $ given name. Notice that the color changes. That's so that it becomes visible for you to know you're actually doing something different, or it might be a different type of context. We're gonna dive in a lot deeper into this soon. So we're gonna go write host given name. Hey, that's exactly what we typed. Let's go ahead and do the same thing for the surname, right? Doe, John Doe, right? Let's go ahead and just make sure. Also, in PowerShell, you can just go ahead and type in the variable and I'll just give it to you. So in this case is Doe. Perfect. Now, this next one right here, this is what's called a concatenation. There's two ways of doing this. You can do it like this, or you can do it like this. You can do it like that. What this does is, we're not adding, adding names like letters and letters. That's not how it functions. You can do that with numbers. But in this context, you're saying, hey, I want you to put these two together. So let's go ahead and do it. Let's go ahead and type out display name. Oh, John Doe. But hey, they're together. We want to have them separated. So that's why we had them right here. You can do it two ways. We can do quotations there and leave a space, and this will do it the same thing. So we just go ahead and just do this here. It'll be like that. Or what we could do is just start adding them all together. Given name plus quotations space plus surname. If we go ahead and do this, it's going to go ahead and separate the names. So we go ahead and just type that here, and there it is. What this is doing, this is called a string. The way I see it is, text, numbers. Boolean is basically a true or false. So everything inside of quotations will be marked as a string. So you can do that one or two ways. You can either do like this, or like how we had it before, like this. Now, inside of a string, you can actually do what's called a substring. So let's say that we have John Doe, but we want to get just the first letter. That's easy. So in here, we have the given name, which we already know is John, right? Let's go ahead and just clear this out. John, right? His name is John. So we're going to go ahead and get the first letter. What you'll do is that inside of where you see substring, you see the parentheses. You're going to start on number 0. Wait, how do you start on 0? In most computer languages, 0 is technically the first one. It is a position. So think as like the first position is 0. And then the second quotation is going to be how many do you want to go from 0? How many letters do you want to get? In this case, we just want to get the first one. So we'll go here. We'll go ahead and type this. And we're going to get the J. So for example, that for some companies, a lot of like the first letter or last name, or they just like the last name, first letter, you know, there's 1,000 ways of doing it. But in this case, we're going to do first letter, full last name to be the user's login account. So in this case, we already got the first letter. Then we're going to go ahead and get the last name. We're going to do that together. We're going to get J Doe. So here the next thing we have is variables called path. Inside of Active Directory, there's a thing called a distinguished name. Don't want to get too overly complicated, but think of it as a folder path inside of Active Directory. So this one is techbytes.com is our domain, our DC. So you see here techbytes.com. So let's go ahead and get the distinguished name of the users folder. Properties. Go to attribute editor, and you can see here distinguished name. You see CN users. So what we're going to do is we're going to copy this because that's where we want to create our user account. So, and here we're going to go ahead and just replace all of this. Paste. And there it is. And then here you can set up your super secret password. Please don't use this password. And now we have to convert it to a secure string. What this will do is that basically it will encrypt it or hash it. You're not going to save plain text into Active Directory. And then after that's done, you're going to do what's called the email address, which is user principal name. So in this case, that SAM account name right here. It's going to be the first letter of the first name and the full last name. And then I'm just adding at techbytes.com, which is going to be the email address. And then now you got this little thing right here. This is what's called an array. So think of arrays as a map. So you're going to go ahead and say, hey, data 1 equals to this. Data 2 equals to this. Data 3, so on and so forth. So what we're doing is that we're going to go ahead and match all those variables that we've gathered in the beginning and match them to Active Directory. So you'll see here, you have given name, which is in Active Directory, the first name. The surname, which is the last name. This is the full name, which we call the display name. Same thing here with display name as well. And then SAM account name, that's your login username. User principal name is your email address. The path is where the user is going to be created. The password, if it's enabled, notice that it says here true. This is what's called a Boolean. So you're going to say, hey, is this enabled? Yes, it's true. And then change password at logon. And that's going to be also true. So then what we do with that array, we have it inside our variable called params. Or you can name it whatever you want. So we can make it stuffs. So that variable called stuffs, we're gonna go ahead and call it here. So this next line right here is where the magic's gonna happen. So it's gonna say, hey, let's create a new user on this server using this information from stuffs. So what do we know what's in stuffs? So let's go ahead and just run that really quick. I'm gonna go ahead and just highlight everything. We don't need to highlight the first two because we already got that data. So we hit enter. We hit F8, I'm sorry. We're gonna go ahead and just do $stuffs. We hit that and here we go. We got our path, we got our last name, we got our email address, we got the given name, full name, blah, 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 blah. So now we're gonna go ahead and create the user. We're gonna go ahead and run this line right here. User's being created, and that's it. How do we know? So we're gonna go ahead and type, we got two ways of doing this. We can type get AD user, Filter with star, with asterisk, I'm sorry. It's a wildcard. And here, you got John Doe. Or, if you go in Active Directory, refresh, John Doe. There, his information's right here. We got the username, the email, user must change the password, all of this information. But Jay, we got 20 like how you said. How are we gonna do all of that? We're gonna go ahead and do what's called a loop. So here we have a CSV file. The CSV file has the person's first name and the person's last name. Really, that's all we need. We can get more in the details later on, but just for this example, we're gonna go ahead and keep it short and simple. So inside of the CSV, we have a column for first name, we have a column for last name. Right here, we got Sarah Smith, John Summers, James Martin, Jim Montgomery, so on and so forth. And they're titled here, first name and last name. So in here, we're gonna say, hey, let's go ahead and import this CSV into this variable, the user's variable. And then for each line, we're gonna go ahead and process. The given name is going to be the user dot first name. When you're importing a CSV, you're creating sub items within that variable. And you can go ahead and you can call them by doing the variable, and then you hit dot and you can do the selection of the first name. So we're gonna go ahead and run this, and we're just gonna stop it right here. And it's gonna say here, Sarah Smith. And there it is, Sarah Smith. So what it's gonna do is it's gonna go ahead and create all of the users in that list with already the predefined information. Let's clear that out. And then just so that I know what's going on, here at the end, I have this line right here. It says write host. We're gonna go ahead and say, hey, by the way, this user account has been created. You're gonna see a lot of little green lines being written once each user's been created. So we're gonna go ahead and run it right now. That was super easy. And no, that was not sped up. We just created 8 user accounts in, what, a second? How do we know they're in? Let's go ahead and check Active Directory. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and here, and look at that. Let's sort it out here. We got Greg Richards, James Martin, Jim Montgomery, John Doe, which we created from Wow. That took us like 5 seconds. Not even. And this is just the surface of what you can do with PowerShell. So what ideas do you think we can do with this? Go ahead and comment down below, because I think the next video we're going to do a bigger deep dive on what we could do, plus some more. Go ahead and hit like, hit subscribe. If you like this video, go ahead and comment down below. Maybe, you know, we can do some new scripts that you guys might be wanting to do. We can go ahead and implement it. Or also, you can join me on Twitch and on YouTube every Tuesday at 8:30. If you have any questions, we can actually go ahead and start doing some of these scripts live on stream. When we start figuring some of these things out with some of the nuances you guys have. If you guys have any questions, you can always join me there. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you later.